Henrietta, this is an intense moment. The clock is ticking to midnight, anxiety rising, then falling, but the uncertainty lingers. What are investors and everyday Americans who are now reassessing everything from cars to food purchases? What are they to make of it?
Well, right now it's fair to be uncomfortable and lack clarity. There's certainly no clear guidance coming from the White House, except for, as you showed earlier, from USTR Greer, who is expressing tremendous amount of confidence that all of these tariffs are coming. No one is going to be excluded before midnight tonight. And we should anticipate that these tariffs, especially on China, the EU, and some of our largest other trading partners, stay on for the foreseeable future. I think what the market is responding to right now is an advance notice that we are heading into a direction of extreme GDP contraction, potentially recession, now being baked in at most of the big bulge bracket banks, in some cases with 60% odds.
So, Christine, President Trump was asked about what seemed to be some conflicting messaging on tariffs. Let me play that.
There have been some mixed messages from your administration. You're talking about negotiations, and yet others in your administration are saying that these tariffs are actually permanent. What is the action?
Well, they can both be true. There can be permanent tariffs, and there can also be negotiations, because there are things that we need beyond tariffs.
So, Christine, what do we actually know about these negotiations and what the administration thinks it can achieve here?
What we know is that a big boatload of tariffs go on at midnight tonight at 12:01, and that's going to be really disruptive for American consumers and businesses. So that's actually happening, and Jameson Greer and others have said that's happening. The president has said that Japan is sending a delegation. He has said he wants to do one-stop shopping in a post he posted about South Korea. But I would remind people that it took 2 years to get the USMCA, the Mexico-Canada agreement, and there are 50 to 70 countries that say that the White House says will be trying to negotiate with them. So I don't know what happens here quickly in the near term. There are people close to the president. There are, backers of the president, billionaires who would like to see a pause on everything that's supposed to happen tonight so you can have these negotiations. There's just no sign that that's going to happen. And when you look at the market, I would just point out the market's up some 400 points. That seems on a normal day that'd be a big bounce. 42,265 was the level of the Dow before all this began. 42,000, that's 8%. So even a big rally today, these stocks are down hard.
Yeah. Melanie, were senators involved in today's hearing more interested in getting answers on these tariffs, or frankly on venting the frustration that they are hearing day after day, hour after hour from their constituents?
Yeah, it was definitely a mix. Certainly, there were some Republicans who are desperate for more answers about what Trump is trying to accomplish with these tariffs and also how long the economic pain is supposed to last. As you mentioned, the messaging has been really mixed from the White House. So this well-timed hearing was a perfect opportunity for some of these senators to really extract more clarity on that subject. But there were also Republican senators who did not hold back in showing their concern and frustration with the White House. One of the most notable exchanges so far came from Republican Senator Thom Tillis when he grilled Jameson Greer over Trump's all-at-once approach to tariffs. Take a listen to that exchange.
In this scenario, the decision maker who decided the alla prima approach, who has obviously had to have spent time anticipating what we saw in the markets and some of the pushback, I'm assuming this all got gamed out because it's a novel approach. It needed to be thought out. Whose throat do I get to choke if this proves to be wrong?
Well, Senator, you can certainly always talk to me, but
are you at the tip of the spear?
Well, I'm at the tip of the spear for certainly.
And Greer also tried to assure senators that Trump is already getting results by testifying that at least 50 countries have already tried to come to the table for talks with Trump on these tariffs. But there's no doubt a lot of anxiety in the GOP right now about these tariffs and about a prolonged trade war. At the moment, there have only been a handful of senators who have really been willing to publicly break with Trump, but we'll see how long that lasts, especially if the markets don't start to turn around pretty soon here.
And in the meantime, Ashley, there are also signs of infighting among the members of President's team. Today, the Wall Street Journal reported a dozen have expressed exasperation with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. And just a couple of hours ago, Elon Musk called White House trade advisor Peter Navarro a moron who's dumber than a sack of bricks. What's going on inside Trump world?
This, what's interesting, feels very reminiscent for those of us who covered the first Trump term of the first Trump term, where Trump really encouraged a team of rivals, where you had competing factions who were busy trying to outmaneuver and knife each other inside the West Wing and then leaking publicly to the media. And so this time around, up until this point, it has been a much more disciplined, streamlined, aggressive machine we've seen from the White House. But this is signs of those real cracks. Elon Musk, obviously sharing this publicly. He has also tried to communicate his concerns about tariffs with Trump privately. You have other people like Scott Bessent who have also privately tried to move Trump off of this, or get him to at least come to what, sort of everyone on Wall Street calls and desires, which is an off-ramp, but still then publicly going out there and touting the administration line. So we're, about 3 months into his second term, and it will be interesting to see if this is a blip or if this is a return to sort of the chaos and infighting and cracks that were such a hallmark of his first term in office.
I just want to make note of the fact that on the other side of the screen, you're seeing the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Her briefing has begun. If she makes news, we will bring that to you. But in the meantime, Henrietta, the president himself said today he believes China wants a deal very badly. But as things stand now, tariffs in excess of 100% could potentially hit tonight. Even if we got deals with other countries, how could a full-blown trade war with China impact the global economy and Americans' everyday lives?
Well, this is almost $500 billion worth of trade that we do with China. And I think when the president says that President Xi wants to come to the table and negotiate, I would say there's literally no evidence to support that, even going back to his first term. They like to talk about the phase one trade agreement as though it was not carried through in the Biden administration. But recall that President Trump put tariffs on China during his first term 7 years ago that are still in effect. And China has not negotiated any of the underlying components with the United States on those issues, whether intellectual property theft, forced tech transfer. They haven't even purchased more soybeans. So we have no history of success with negotiating with China. And my contacts in China who are there right now on the ground are suggesting and saying very clearly that President Xi has no indication and no interest in negotiating with the president under this strategy. They have not even gotten on the phone yet. So we have a long way to go before any kind of deal is reached with China. And that's most problematic for U.S. farmers who are going to have to be bailed out as a result of these trade wars taking much longer than the president has anticipated or telegraphed to them, especially with regards to China.
And Christine, we're hearing from people already who are changing their habits based on either what they're seeing or what they're expecting. Take a listen.
It definitely makes us think twice before we buy something. We have to be a lot more careful with our options and how we buy food.
I go to the Goodwill. I go with the hand-me-down clothes. Actually, what I have on is hand-me-down. Everything goes up. So now you have less money to buy out there for the food, especially when it comes to kids.
Do we have a good handle on the impact of tariffs right now? I do know anecdotally from people who have tried to buy things that maybe have a lead time, that they've already been told that the price is going to go higher.
And we've seen in the consumer sentiment surveys that people are concerned about this, and they're concerned that tariffs are going to lead to inflation, and they're being more defensive. And when consumers who drive 70% of the American economy start to get defensive, that's when you get worried about growth slowing, inflation rising, and that terrible stagflation word that's such a problem. I mean, we are potentially looking at a moment at midnight tonight, 12:01 p.m. tonight, where the end of cheap consumer goods is here. That is over. 40 years of the American middle class being able to afford the TV, the smartphone, the clothes, the soccer equipment, all the stuff that over the years has been made more cheaply overseas. All of those things are going to be taxed dramatically tonight. And for some time, maybe producers and importers can eat some of that cost, but it is pretty certain that Americans are going to pay much, much higher cost for the things they've been used to for a generation.
Is it commonsensical or is it overly simplistic to say, because you mentioned TVs, you want to buy a new TV, if they've already got it in stock, you're probably in decent shape, but if the new stock is coming in, you could be in trouble.
If you want to upgrade your phone, if you need a new car, I mean, this is what we've been seeing people do for the past couple of weeks, trying to make these purchases that they can afford and they need to now because they're worried about what's going to come ahead. But you look at the Nintendo Switch. I just saw a line of people a few days ago outside to get in for the pre-orders outside the Nintendo store. Now they're pausing the release of that because they don't know how to price it, because it could potentially, a $450 device cost $900. And is that even feasible? Will they even sell it here? This is what we don't know. These are the kinds of decisions companies are making.
Yeah, and parents being pushed by their kids. I want it. I don't care how much it costs, right? Ashley, you heard John Kennedy say Trump owns this now. Is there any indication he's comfortable with this big gamble, or any indication he's having even the slightest bit of hesitation? But if he is comfortable with it, is he pinning his presidency on these tariffs?
Well, right now, both publicly and privately, there's no indication he is anything but comfortable with this big gamble, as you put it. It is just about anyone would agree. And that's also been fascinating for me to watch because, again, having covered him since 2015, he talked about this in his first term last time, but he really used to view the stock market in the same way he viewed polls. And when the stock market would go down, he would get worried and he would try to make adjustments. And he is now in a way that is very un-Trumpian. Trump is someone who generally is trying to win the minute, the hour, the day, the person who is directly in front of him. But right now, he has made public comments that show he has, at least for now, a bit more of a stomach for, as he's urged the American public, a bit more pain or taking your medicine in order to get better. And it's an interesting question of how long this will last, because politically, you're right. One of the key reasons that Donald Trump beat Joe Biden this cycle was because of the economy, because the economy, while some indicators were good, the vibes were bad. And right now, not only are the actual indicators, for instance, of the stock market not good, but the vibes, again, are quite bad.